This is Chris Connors from CustomWoodCarvings.com, and today I'm going to show you how I carve a life-size sitting dog. Alright, so today we're working with a piece of ash. It'll be about 2.5 feet tall and it's 2 feet thick. And here's the sketch I'm using today. Got a profile view and a frontal view. And these marks here mark out every 6 inches, so it's 1 foot, 2 feet, so it's just under 2.5 feet tall, and it's about 2 feet wide this way. So my first cut here is going to be measured out from here, and I'm just going to get rid of all this extra stuff over here. So I measured out 7 inches from the center, so I'm going to remove all that, and then I'll go to the profile view and get rid of this big chunk in here and then in here. So you can see I put some lines here. When I looked at this log, I walked around it and I decided the face, this is a good spot for the face. It looks pretty clean. It has this little branch below, but that will be in the base, so that won't affect anything. And then that puts this right in here, puts the rear end towards this side where this side shoot is coming out, and I didn't want any of those weird things that might be inside the wood right there to affect the face. So if anything, it's going to be on the back side, and it shouldn't matter that much. And I'm just going to use a normal saw here. I think it's an 18-inch bar. And I'll start cutting. Alright, so I cut off this chunk and this chunk, but when I cut this chunk off, I found a hole in there. So I was right. There was sometimes there's something funky going on when you have a crotch in the tree like that. So I'm going to just keep cutting here. I'm going to take the profile chunk out and just see what I'm left with, because it might be an easy repair. Alright, so just to let you know, the way I made this sketch is by going to the customer and taking photos of the dog and lots of different views, and then I can do my sketch from there. I've found that works the best. I've had the customer take pictures for me before, and it just does not work because they just don't know what I'm looking for in terms of viewpoints and details and things. But sometimes the dog is no longer living, so you have to use the photos that they have. In that case, I take their photos and I go onto Google and I find some dogs that look just like theirs and use those as photo references. Alright, so what I did at this point is I'm measuring from the outside of the ear, from the center out to there, and I'm also going from the center to the side of the skull, and also from the center to the side of the snout, and that gives me these measurements here. Here's the center out to the ear, out to the side of the skull, and then to the side of the snout here, and then that gives me a line to make right here. I can go ahead and cut these chunks out, and I also measured from the center line here this way to see where's that brow line on it. So I'm going to go ahead and make those cuts. Alright, so we've chiseled out the 2 sides there, starting to see kind of a snout shape now. And now on the profile, we'll go ahead and slant the top of the snout, and then we'll take out this negative space underneath the chin and in front of the chest there, and the front legs. We'll get rid of all that extra stuff. So what I've done here is I'm going to block out the ear now. So I've measured the profile of the ear from this direction as well as this direction, and it's usually, I'm always measuring from the center point out. Same thing here, center point out. And then I've drawn the ear profile right on there. And that's from that view. And then also from this view, I know where to come down for my ear. And so from those two views, it will block out those ears. I've also put in the sides of the skull here, so I know what I'm working with, and then also the top of the snout. Alright, so I've blocked out the ears, roughed those out. Now I'm going to take the profile of the face here. I'm going to get rid of some of this negative space in here, bring that down, and then go ahead and refine the whole bottom area of the neck, around that all out. Okay, I've refined the head and the neck. Now I made some measurements and marks for these front legs here, where they're coming in here and here, and then how wide they are and how they spread out right in here. I've marked that right here. And I gotta drop this down lower to finish it up. So here's how it's looking so far. And let's take a look at the hole on this side. Alright, so when I thin out that body, we'll see how it looks. It might be alright. So the way I'm going about this is I'm basically taking this halfway line, and I'm just focusing on this section of the forelegs and then the chest sticking out and coming down. So I'm going to be removing this negative space right in here. And this is a good spot to stop because this is where the tail comes up. So right here forward is what I'm dealing with right now. I forgot to mention that all this detail work in here that I've been doing, I've been using a 1/4 tip carving bar with a 1/4, because it is the radius of a 1/4, with 1/4 pitch chain and a 1/4 pitch sprocket. I don't prefer to carve ash because it's really hard. I prefer to carve white pine. I'm in New England, so there's tons of white pine around here. But this is actually a stump job, so I went out to the stump, cut it off, the part that I was going to carve, brought it back to my place. I'm going to carve it, and then I'll reinstall it up onto the stump. So it's at a golf course, and they have a series of 3 stumps that I'll be doing. So, alright, so I just recut this line here, and then cut this line here. So now the proportions are starting to show up. You can see how the front legs are blocked in now. And now I'm going to take the back leg there where it folds up, where that bone sticks out right in here. I'm going to go ahead and start cutting that in. And when I do that, that's going to round out this whole back hips area. And I'll start rounding out the shoulder blades and all that, and this back is going to start looking good. Alright, now that I've defined the rear leg here, now this is nice because now I can just, right in here, I got to round back that part and then round in the belly. And as I round in the belly, I have to define the back part of this front leg, and things will just start defining themselves. Okay. So here the front arms are blocked out from the profile view and from the frontal view. But when you go 3/4 view, look how thick that is. So what I'm going to start doing now is just start thinning that out. And the paw should be coming straight towards me. And so I'm just going to start refining these front legs. And that will help define what the chest is doing into the stomach, down, going underneath.